You read it.
You replaced me.
No, it's not like that.
Then what is it?
You stopped listening to me. I tried to talk to you so many times, but you were always tired, always busy, always somewhere else.
I know Michael.
What?
He works at my bank.
The first time anyone noticed something strange about David and Sarah's marriage was during her wedding. They were sitting side by side, dressed beautifully like always. Sarah wore a soft smile. David looked calm and respectful as usual. From the outside, nothing looked wrong. But if someone had watched closely, they would have noticed something small. They were not talking to each other, not even once. To everyone else in the hall, David and Sarah were the couple people prayed to become. Whenever young couples argued, someone would always say, "Look at David and Sarah. 5 years of marriage, and they still behave like best friends." People admired their calmness, their maturity, and their peace. What nobody knew was that the marriage everyone admired had already started breaking, and the silence that day at the wedding was only the beginning. David and Sarah met almost 8 years earlier at the University of Lagos. It wasn't love at first sight, it was friendship first. David was quiet, focused, and hardworking. He came from a modest home in Ogun State and believed strongly in building a stable future before anything else. Sarah was different. She was lively, expressive, and had the kind of smile that made people comfortable around her. They met during a group assignment in their final year. At first, they only spoke about schoolwork, but slowly, the conversations changed. They began talking about life, dreams, family, and the kind of future they wanted. Before long, they were spending evenings together after lectures, walking around campus, buying roasted corn from roadside sellers, and laughing about small things. With them, everything felt easy. After graduation, David got a job in a bank in Lagos. It wasn't a big position, but it was a start. 2 years later, he proposed. The wedding was beautiful but simple. Friends danced, family prayed, and many people said the same thing that day. Those two will go far together. And for a while, it truly looked that way. Their early years of marriage were full of warmth. They lived in a small apartment in Surulere, but they were happy there. Some evenings they cooked together. Other nights, they bought food from a nearby booker and ate while watching movies. Sometimes, the light would go off and they would sit outside on the balcony talking about the future. Life was not perfect, but their love made everything feel possible. But marriage, like life, changes with time. 3 years later, David got a promotion at the bank. It was the opportunity he had been praying for. Better salary, more responsibilities, a chance to finally give Sarah the comfortable life he believed she deserved. At first, Sarah was excited for him. She celebrated his success and supported him fully. But promotions often come with sacrifices. David began leaving home earlier than before. Some mornings he left before Sarah woke up. Many nights he returned when she was already tired. At first, it did not seem like a big problem. After all, he was working for their future. But slowly, their routine changed. Dinner conversations became shorter. Movie nights disappeared. Weekend outings became rare. David was always tired. Sarah tried not to complain. She reminded herself that he was working hard for them. But something inside her began to feel different, lonely. Not because she didn't love her husband, but because she no longer felt like she had one. Sometimes, she would sit in the living room scrolling through her phone, waiting for David to come home. Sometimes, she fell asleep on the couch before he arrived. And sometimes, when he finally came home, he was too exhausted to talk. Work was stressful today, he would say before heading to bed. Sarah would smile and say she understood. But each time that happened, something small inside her heart quietly broke. Outside their home, however, people still saw the perfect couple. On social media, their pictures looked beautiful. Anniversary posts, birthday messages, cute captions like "my partner forever." Friends admired them. Church members used them as an example. No one knew that behind the pictures, their connections was slowly fading. Then one evening, something unexpected happened. Sarah joined an online discussion group about small business ideas. She had always wanted to start something of her own. During one of the discussions, she began chatting with a man named Michael. At first, their conversations were completely normal. They talked about business ideas, marketing, and everyday life. But over time, their conversations became longer. Michael was easy to talk to. He listened carefully. He asked questions. And most importantly, he noticed when Sarah was sad. One night, he asked her a simple question: "Are you happy?" Sarah stayed at the phone for a long time before replying. That question opened a door she didn't even know she had been holding closed. She began sharing things she had never said out loud. How lonely she sometimes felt. How much she missed the man her husband used to be before work consumed him. Michael didn't judge her. He just listened. And sometimes, being heard can feel dangerously comforting. Sarah never planned to replace her husband, but slowly she began sharing more of her thoughts with Michael than with David. The emotional distance in our marriage was quietly being filled by someone else. Then one evening, something happened that changed everything. David came home earlier than usual. The house was quiet. Sarah had stepped out briefly to buy something nearby. Her phone was on the table. David sat down waiting for her. Then the phone vibrated. A message appeared on the screen. "I miss our conversations. You deserve someone who truly listens to you." David's heart sank. He didn't want to read further, but something pushed him to open the message. What he saw made his chest tighten. Weeks of conversations, late-night chats, emotional confessions. Sarah had been sharing her deepest feelings with another man. At that point, the marriage everyone admired seemed to collapse. When Sarah returned home, she immediately saw the phone in David's hand. Her heart dropped. "You read it," she said quietly. David looked at her with pain in his eyes. "You replaced me." Tears filled Sarah's eye immediately. "No, it's not like that." "Then what is it?" David asked. Her voice trembled. You stopped listening to me. For a moment, David had no answer. Sarah continued, her voice breaking. I tried to talk to you so many times, but you were always tired, always busy, always somewhere else. The room became painfully quiet. David stood up slowly and walked to the window. For a moment, he didn't say anything. His shoulders were tense, like he was carrying something heavy inside him. Sarah wiped her tears, waiting for him to speak. When he finally did, his voice was low. I know Michael. Sarah blinked in confusion. What do you mean you know him? David turned slowly to face her. He worked at my bank. For a moment, Sarah didn't understand what she had just heard. Then her heart began to race. David continued, his eyes fixed on the floor. 2 weeks ago, he came to my office during lunch break. We were talking about relationships. He mentioned he had been chatting with a married woman online. Sarah's leg suddenly felt weak. David's voice remained calm, but the pain inside, it was clear. He said the woman sounded lonely. Tears rolled down Sarah's face. David continued. He asked me something that day. Sarah's voice trembled. What did he ask? David looked directly at her now. He asked me what a good husband should do if his wife was slowly drifting away. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. And do you know what I told him? David asked quietly. She shook her head. David swallowed hard before answering. I told him that if a woman is lonely inside her own marriage, then somewhere along the way, her husband stopped showing up. Sarah broke down completely because for the first time that night, the truth was painfully clear. Michael wasn't the real problem. He was only standing in the empty space that had slowly grown between husband and wife. And the most painful part of all, David had already known their marriage was slipping away. He just didn't realize how far it had gone. So that night, they talked more honestly than they had in years. No pride, no pretending, just truth. David admitted he had buried himself in work and forgotten to nurture his marriage. Sarah admitted she had allowed loneliness to pull her towards someone else emotionally. Neither of them had planned for things to reach that point, but neglect had slowly taken its toll. 1 year later, people still admired David and Sarah, but not because they looked perfect. They admired them because they learned to fight for their marriage when it almost fell apart. They started making time for each other again. Real conversations returned. Laughter slowly came back into their home. And they finally understood something many couples learned too late. A relationship does not collapse suddenly. It slowly breaks in the quiet moments when two people stop truly seeing each other. Because sometimes the greatest threat to love is not betrayal, it is neglect. And love that is not grateful will eventually start searching for warmth somewhere else. Thank you for watching the story. Please like, subscribe, and comment.